obviously, we all know how the world works, where there's what we do in front of a camera for work, and then there's sometimes that stuff that...
It was way past midnight in Montecito when that single ring sliced through the silence. Not a notification, not a message ping, just one deliberate, chilling ring that made the entire house feel small. Meghan shot upright in bed. The air was still, the kind of stillness that only comes when a place has learned to hold its breath. The moonlight caught a half-empty glass on the coffee table, bending the reflection into a sharp white streak. On her phone screen, a 2-minute podcast clip looped again and again. A former correspondent had tossed out an offhand comment, something casual about media manipulation and brand plays. To anyone else, it was throwaway gossip. But to Meghan, it felt like a knife wrapped in silk. She replayed it. Once. Twice. Her jaw tightened, her eyes narrowing. This wasn't just irritation, this was years of pressure, bruises beneath polished smiles, and a lifetime of being misunderstood. This wasn't fury for attention. This was the quiet kind of rage that comes from realizing the world keeps rewriting your story for you. She grabbed the phone. It was time someone heard her side. The call she made wasn't dramatic, no shouting, just a low, measured voice. "You don't know me," she said, "but I think you know what this is about." The producer on the other end thought it was a prank until she said her name, Meghan Markle. There was a silence so long you could almost hear the panic form.
For social media, you'll do in front of a camera because it's about your life, behind the scenes stuff, right? Did you see the Meghan Markle thing?
The man mumbled that he didn't have permission to pull any episodes. "Delete it," she said, calm, sharp, final. That's not a request. Moments later, another number lit up the producer's screen, a man's voice this time, cold, corporate, perfectly rehearsed. "I'm calling on behalf of the Duchess. You'll receive a legal notice by morning." And just like that, panic spread across studios like wildfire. Slack threads blew up. Screenshots, timestamps, urgent labels everywhere. One message pinged across the group. You're not gonna believe this. Within hours, the gossip world had its newest obsession. Meghan Markle versus Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was mid-coffee when he read the message. His eyebrows lifted, disbelief dripping off his laugh. "She's threatening my show," he said, hitting play on the voicemail. Her voice was unmistakable, polished, firm, deadly calm. The studio that usually lived off caffeine and chaos suddenly went electric. Spotify's legal team in London was pinging New York before sunrise. Executives were awake, drafting memos that balanced risk and royal fallout like a tightrope act. A royal telling one of the world's loudest podcasters to delete his episode, that wasn't just drama, that was history. By dawn, boardrooms were buzzing. Some wanted to hide the clip, others wanted to ride the wave. But Rogan? Oh, he made a different choice. He hit the mic, eyes cold. "Take it down, you know who I am." He played her voicemail live on air. The audience froze, and then exploded. Laughter, outrage, disbelief. Within minutes, that clip was everywhere. Hashtags trended, memes sprouted, and social media went feral. A duchess tried to silence a podcast. That headline was pure gasoline. In a small Los Angeles studio, one producer typed what the world was thinking. "She tried to scare us. She failed." But Meghan wasn't backing down. Not this time.
She filmed herself in black and white in her own theatre, watching the LA Dodgers. My favourite part of...
Joe's phone buzzed again, relentless. He was still sipping his coffee when he hit play on another message. The same icy command repeated, "Take it down, you know who I am." He laughed again, but the sound was sharper this time, half disbelief, half defiance. Within minutes, cameras were rolling, producers were whispering, and legal teams were calculating odds like gamblers. "If we cave, we set a precedent," one message said. "If we don't, we risk litigation." It was chaos in Slack, a war of words between risk and reputation. Spotify's lawyers looped in both coasts. Executives debated headlines. And Rogan? He doubled down. "So apparently Meghan Markle doesn't like my opinion," he said live, before hitting play again. The voicemail echoed across airwaves. Laughter filled the studio, nervous, mocking, explosive. The internet did what it always does. It turned scandal into a sport, clips spread like wildfire. Fans remixed her line into jokes, late-night hosts cracked punchlines, and Twitter became a battlefield between Team Meghan and Team Rogan. But inside Spotify's offices, laughter wasn't part of the script anymore. A leaked internal memo surfaced hours later. "We have verified the audio. No action will be taken. Maintain neutrality." Neutrality didn't stand a chance. The internet had already chosen sides. Some called Meghan's call an abuse of power. Others saw a woman breaking under years of constant attack. Either way, the narrative had escaped her control. And when that happens, the internet doesn't forgive it feeds. The next morning brought a fresh storm. Another voicemail surfaced, this time from a calm male voice representing her legal team. Cold, polite, and razor sharp. "Delete the episode, issue a correction, or face legal action." Joe played that one too. He wasn't just fighting back, he was performing the war. If the first voicemail was a spark, this one was gasoline. The tension was cinematic lawyers drafting emails while memes trended.
And Meghan Markle has no affinity for the LA Dodgers, and everybody knows this. It's not like, oh, there are some women who are super into.
By noon, the clip had crossed 10 million views, and by evening, it was on late night television. And somewhere in Montecito, Meghan was pacing, her voice breaking not for the cameras, but in real human exhaustion. She was angry, yes, but also hurt. The kind of hurt that festers when your every word is weaponized. Within hours, a new storm hit the leak. Someone inside her own home had recorded her pacing, her voice raw, emotional, unguarded. A staffer had captured the moment that wasn't meant for anyone. And when a London tabloid got hold of that 90-second file, they didn't hesitate. They ran it front page, bold headline, and a single devastating phrase. Verified audio confirms Meghan's private meltdown. It was a feeding frenzy. Spotify's inbox flooded with media inquiries. Executives panicked. Even her closest team began to crumble. 2 PR advisors resigned within hours, calling it ethical conflict and exhaustion. And Meghan, she wasn't done fighting. "If I don't fight, they'll bury me," she told a staffer, her voice trembling with both fury and fear. The internet went to war. Critics called her manipulative. Defenders called her human. Influencers picked sides. Podcasts looped her voice until people could recite every breath. Then, one revelation flipped the story upside down. The leak came from inside the house. Forensic data pointed to a MacBook owned by one of her own aides. Laura Simmons, 32, former PR intern, lived in the guest house, had access.
How we know? Because they constantly post pictures of themselves wearing the team gear, dating us on the scores every weekend. I know these women, right? I can't relate to them at all because I'm not into sports, but I find them fun and amusing and I follow. She's not one of them. She's not one of them at all. She never mentioned.
Meghan wasn't just fighting gossip anymore, she was fighting paranoia. The betrayal had ripped open something deeper, trust. Inside Montecito, the energy was no longer panic, it was pure tension. The kind that clings to walls, follows footsteps, and whispers through hallways. Every door felt like it was listening. Every silence felt recorded. People inside Meghan's circle began acting like suspects in a mystery they didn't sign up for. Coffee breaks vanished, conversations turned into coded whispers, and even her loyal aides started locking their phones in drawers. They all knew it now. Trust had an expiration date. Meghan, once the woman who dreamed of controlling her narrative, suddenly found herself drowning in it. The betrayal had given tabloids the feast they'd been starving for, complete with a villain, a victim, and a trail of money. Reporters sniffed around bank statements and offshore transfers. Every transaction became a theory. Was Laura Simmons a traitor or just a desperate intern trying to survive in a world where everyone sells a story? One journalist summed it up best. In today's media, truth is a currency, and Meghan's story, it's priceless. But the chaos didn't stop there. A London journalist named Eleanor Shaw received an unmarked envelope, no sender, no note, just a silver USB drive with one line written in black marker. This is what they were afraid of. Verify before publishing. She ran it through every security check, 3 audio files, 1 transcript. The second file was unmistakable, Meghan's voice, raw, emotional, deliberate. The analyst confirmed no edits, no synthetic markers, it was real. For Meghan, it was deja vu, her private world being torn apart in public, again. Then came the thunderclap. The Independent published the headline that broke the internet. Verified recording authentic. Within an hour, the BBC and The Guardian confirmed it too. The recording was real. London went into Firstly and the Nat. Quiet chaos. Clarence House held emergency briefings. The king, pale and distant, locked himself in his study. One aide whispered to a reporter, "The mood is grim satisfaction. It's no longer scandal, it's risk." Across the Atlantic, talk shows were feasting. Some painted Meghan as the tragic woman cornered by her own empire. Others called her the architect of her own downfall. Social media split in half number team tape versus number team truth. Influencers went live for hours, dissecting tone, body language, and background noise. YouTubers built entire careers overnight explaining what Meghan really meant. But inside Montecito, it wasn't entertainment. It was heartbreak. Meghan was being destroyed by the same machine that once made her famous. Her team begged her to stop responding. Let it die down, they said, but she refused. If I stay silent, they win. 2 more senior aides resigned by dawn. The rest surrendered their phones for audits. No one trusted anyone anymore. And then the final straw, the Netflix sit-down. Promoted everywhere with the tagline, "The tape, the truth, the end." It wasn't just an interview, it was a reclamation attempt. Meghan sat alone on set, no host, no audience, just her and the camera, lights dim, a single microphone dangling like judgment. She looked straight into the lens and began softly. "I know what people think they heard, but no one asked why I said what I said." Her tone was fragile, sincere, almost haunting. She spoke about the pressure, the isolation, the constant twisting of her words. For the first 15 minutes, the world actually listened. For a moment, sympathy flickered. Hashtags shifted from hate to heartbreak. Number art reclaims narrative started trending. But then, the glitch. A flash of red text hit the screen, archive file attached, do not delete. For 3 seconds, the broadcast revealed raw production notes, a producer asking, does it sound believable if she cries? Here. The feed cut, then resumed like nothing had happened. But it was too late. The internet had already paused, screenshotted, dissected. Was it sabotage? Was it an accident? Or was Netflix staging its own chaos for ratings? Netflix called it a technical error. Critics called it a smoking gun. By morning, the glitch clip was viral. Reaction videos, memes, remixes, it was everywhere. Netflix's internal logs were subpoenaed within hours. The UK's Communications Authority announced an inquiry into unauthorized dissemination of private communications. Parliament demanded preservation of tapes. This wasn't gossip anymore, it was bordering on a state-level scandal. Then came the twist no one expected. A sealed envelope sent directly to the palace, addressed only to one person. The label read, Harry AS1, Vinyl MP3. Inside that room, when they played it, the silence was deadly. The audio wasn't a leak, it was a conversation. Private, intimate. Between voices that should have never been recorded. A senior aide covered her mouth. The king walked out of the room without a word. For the first time, this wasn't tabloid drama. This was consequence. Clarence House went into lockdown, phones confiscated, lawyers drafted confidentiality agreements overnight, William canceled public duties, every royal reporter in London went into overdrive. This was no longer just Meghan's war, this was a crisis of the monarchy. Parliament requested an official preservation order. The communications regulator opened a case file, and suddenly, the question wasn't, did Meghan say it? It was, how deep does this go? In California, the fallout was immediate. Meghan's lawyers scrambled to contain damage. Forensic investigators were hired to trace every digital footprint. They mirrored laptops, froze backups, and tracked deleted files. Her staff, once a tight circle, now moved like ghosts in their own home. Every glance felt suspicious. Every whisper felt recorded. Trust had become a liability. And in that suffocating paranoia, Meghan made a choice. Would she keep fighting, exposing every ugly truth in public? Or would she disappear, let the noise consume itself, and finally breathe? That night, she sat in her dimly lit room, phone glowing beside her. Notifications piled up lawyers, journalists, advisors. The same device that had started this war now pulsed like a living thing. She didn't answer, she turned it face down. For the first time in years, she didn't need to speak. The world would talk anyway. Outside, paparazzi lenses blinked like red eyes. Inside, the only light came from the slow, steady pulse of that phone. Because that's the cruel truth of the digital age. Nothing truly disappears. Every secret, every recording, every moment of anger or pain waits patiently in a cloud somewhere, ready to resurface. For Meghan, it wasn't about winning anymore. It was about survival. The world might move on, but the internet never forgets. And in that cold silence, she finally realized privacy isn't peace. It's just the pause before the next headline.